Hey everyone! I wanted to talk about something that is very personal to me and resonates with me a lot, or has resonated with me a lot since I become a mom. But before I jump into that, I just want to say that I just literally waited about 45 minutes at Velvet Taco. Has anybody ever had Velvet Taco? Because, oh my goodness. I mean, these tacos look amazing, but that was like very overstimulating for me. And there was a lot of people in there. And I was like, these tacos better be good because I'm literally standing here waiting. Whew, that was a lot. I got my bags sitting right here as I'm driving home. I'm actually really excited to eat them. But anyways, I wanted to talk about burnout versus being just stressed, because this is something that I really had to learn since becoming a mom, but also with my social work background and just going to school to continue my education. You know, we learned a lot about the nervous system, and I actually, just in working with teenagers in one of my internships, really got to learn more about being burnt out versus just being stressed. So this is something that I've just been so fascinated about, especially in talking with moms. Like, it's so easy for us to say, oh, I'm so stressed today, or the kids are stressing me out, or this, that, and the other. But to really experience true burnout is something that a lot of women experience as well. And I think it's hard to really separate the two, because I think a lot of times we just label burnout as being stressed, and there really is a significant difference between the two. So when you're stressed, usually stress is like temporary, mild, you could recover with rest. You know, like it's easy to be stressed out for a few days about, you know, something going on in your life, or maybe it's the kids, right? But pure burnout is consistent. And there's a difference between, oh, I'm stressed out about this situation, but I'm burnt out about this situation. And I've experienced both. And for the longest time, I thought I was just stressed. Like, I would say, oh my God, my kids are stressing me out. I'm stressed every day. But over time, I noticed the difference where I was purely exhausted. I was irritable all the time, just straight out exhausted, and truly felt like I was running on E. And the difference between the two, which I want to point out from a different perspective, just to get people to really understand, burnout affects your nervous system. You feel it on a physical level. And yes, with stress, you could feel it on a physical level as well. When I'm stressed out, I feel it in my chest. I feel it in my stomach, depending on the situation. Like, I feel like I have knots in my stomach. But burnout is truly feeling like there's nothing else left that you could give. It's very deep. It's very personal. And you will know when you have reached the burnout phase. And the reason why I'm filming this is because no matter what stage of motherhood you're in, you could have tiny little kids, or your kids could be older. You could get burnt out. And a lot of it's situational too. Like, I remember feeling a different level of burnout when my kids were little versus now, you know, and now I have a baby at home, but you know, my oldest is about to be 7, and like, this level of burnout with him is a lot different, looks a lot different than it did when he was a toddler. But I wanted to point it out because it's really important to tune in with yourself and ask yourself, am I just stressed? Is this just basic stress? How long is this lasting? What triggers me regarding this situation or situations, if there's multiple things in your life that's bothering you? But I think it's really important to check in with yourself to really determine the difference. Because if you're burnt out, you need to come up with a game plan to get out of that. Because the long-term effects, like I mentioned earlier, your nervous system can quite literally, what is that? It's actually amazing that I don't have baby puke on me. I smell like a baby goat most days. That's going to bother me. See, that's my ADHD kicking in. Anyways, I don't even know what the heck I was saying. It's important to really check in with yourself, to ask yourself, is this just everyday stress, or have I truly reached a point of being burnt out? And again, it doesn't matter. I think a lot of times, like, society's like, oh, you have little kids at home, and this too shall pass, and this stage is temporary. Being burnt out is not normal. Okay, let's just say that 100 times. I used to try and normalize it in my head, and like, oh well, it's a phase, or it's a stage. I'll feel better soon. The long-term effects of me being burnt out, I'm still probably recovering from years ago, because again, from a nervous system perspective, your nervous system will literally shut down. You will start to feel it on a physical level, not just mental, physical level. And just for example, actually, while we're on the topic, I got myself so burnt out that I could not breathe for the longest time. It would be hard for me to catch my breath. Now, a lot of that was anxiety, but I literally physically ran myself into the ground, just doing everything, having to manage everything, feeling the need to control everything. And I felt myself, even now, having almost 3-month-old at home, kind of going back into them, sorry, my husband said, don't eat them all, as in the chips. And I just read that and said them. But I felt myself going back into those habits of burnout after having my most recent child. And it's a learning experience. It's a learning curve to really train yourself not to fall back into those patterns. But the point of this video is just to really be aware of the difference between average day-to-day stress, life stress, kid stress, and fully being burnt out. And again, you don't have to have little kids at home to be burnt out. You could be burnt out and have older kids. You could be burnt out from your career. We could talk about it for days on end on, situational burnout, and what that looks like and feels like. So my piece of advice, just a daily tidbit from me, is check in with yourself. And if you've been feeling tired, exhausted, irritable, emotional, fragile for some time, you may be experiencing burnout rather than just simply being stressed. And you need to take care of yourself. You need to look at the situation that you're in, or situations, because there could be multiple things going on, and you really need to ask yourself, what can I do to lighten up this situation, to lighten up this burnout feeling? How can I start to focus on healing myself from within and looking at this situation in a different light, so that I can either get out of the situation, or if you can't get out of the situation, if it's your kids, right? We can't escape them. How can I change things, or where can I look for support so that I do not have to feel this way anymore? Write it out, talk it out, whatever you need to do. There's a way out of it. And it truly starts from within, if I'm being completely honest, because it took me, oh no, tacos are going flying. It truly took me years to figure out how to get out of my burnt out, because it just became something that I got so used to feeling that internally I was falling apart. So I hope this helps. Don't mind my taco fiasco and all the things because I get distracted. But that's just being a mom and life. So I hope you all hang in there. Have a wonderful day, evening, morning, whenever you're watching this, and we will talk soon.